Okay, welcome to the cert-manager development meeting on the 10th of August 2022. We're joined today by four of us from the JetStack team. 5 of us, sorry, I always forget Alan, and Cody and Mihak. Cody, introduce yourself.
Hey, yeah, I'm Cody from VMware. We're leveraging cert-manager for a number of our services, so I like to stay on top of the latest happenings here. So thanks for including me.
Great. And is there anything in particular you'd like to discuss today, or are you just listening in?
I do have a bit of a topic of a bug we found that's related to something that's already an issue on the issue board in GitHub, but that's about it.
Okay, great. Well, the agenda for the meeting is linked in the chat. So if you could add your item to the agenda, that would be good. And Mihak, people here might not know what you're working on, so tell us.
Right. Hello, everyone. My name is Mehak, and I am the technical writer working on cert-manager as a part of the Google Season of Doc project for the year 2022. And today I'll be giving an update on that.
Thanks. And yeah, everyone else, myself, Ashley, Josh, Alan, and Tim are all in the JetStack team. Josh, Ash, and Tim and I are working on the cert-manager project. So shall we proceed? There's 2 items on the agenda by the look of it. The first I put on, which is the update on a progress update on the Season of Docs project. And at that point, I shall hand over to Mihak, but I have been working with her on this so I can chip in during the presentation. Mihak, will you share your screen?
Sure. All right, please let me know when you can see my screen.
I can see it now, yes.
Perfect. So thank you everyone for joining the call today. I'll make it quick and just give a high-level update of what has been done and what are the next steps that we have to improve the cert-manager documentation. I have been working very closely with Richard and Mail for this effort and will be giving a summary of what has been done. So just to give an overview of the project, the purpose is to improve the navigation and structure of the cert-manager documentation. And in order to do that, we decided to first identify the top 3 target audiences that use this documentation. And based upon that, create a friction log of the existing document to understand the pain points of these target audiences. The update on this was also given by Mail in one of the previous bi-weekly meetings. For this specific meeting, and in fact, for this specific phase, we once the friction log was identified, we decided to then to gather the feedback from the community and then start incorporating that feedback into the documentation. For this purpose, we conducted a survey, and based upon the feedback from the survey, we decided to make changes to the document and publish it. The survey was published and made available for everyone to fill in on 18th of July, and the participants had around 10 days to fill it, with 2 weekends included. These are the survey results. So within the 10 days, we got 46 responses. And initially, we categorized the target audiences into 5 different categories, including new user, cluster administrator, ongoing user, integrator, and new contributors. And it was really good to see participation from all these groups of target audiences. And based upon the survey, we analyzed that the top target audience referring to the documentation and using cert-manager includes cluster administrator. So this green chunk this green part, this refers to the cluster administrators. And the second highest category was for the ongoing users, and third was for new users. As per the survey, 60% of the users prefer using Helm for the installation of cert-manager, while 20% of them prefer using kubectl. Although there are other installation mechanisms as well, but it looked like that they had a very small percentage.
There was a couple, weren't there? There was Flux and Argo CD representing the general category of GitOps style installation, which were, you're right, it was a small proportion, but it was interesting to see that ever so many people were using those methods, and it makes me think it reminded me that we ought to add a little bit of documentation for those people.
That's right. Thanks for chipping in, Richard. While working on the friction log, we also were concerned if cert-manager documentation is actually showing up on search results, and which was proved kind of wrong during the survey, because our Google search seems to be one of our top promoters. Cert-manager has been appearing in the search results for most of the users. The second top promoter of cert-manager is word of mouth. And a more specific example of this is a colleague referring to another colleague to use cert-manager. And the third top promoter is the Slack channel that we have. We also wanted to understand that if the users are referring to the documentation for upgrading cert-manager, and it looks like they really are. Most of them refer to the upgrade section of cert-manager documentation, while a few of them also refer to the GitHub release page. Later, we also
just a quick note. I think the reason we asked that question, part of the reason we asked that question was that we wondered if people were simply visiting the release page on GitHub when they were notified of the new release via GitHub, but we were worried that they weren't going to read in full the upgrade notes that we add to the documentation, and that question helped us answer that point.
Yes, that's right. And then we also wanted the users to rate the different documentation sections that we have available on the navigation sidebar, because we wanted to understand that which sections are performing good, and we wanted to identify those sections that need to be improved. And from the looks of it, the users are extremely happy with the installation section. Mostly the feedback was positive. However, there were some other sections as well that clearly required improvement, because the number of words for partially helpful was more than completely helpful. We also wanted to understand the general sentiment about the documentation, whether the users are able to navigate the document, if the information is clear enough, how well do they rate the accuracy of the content. And so far, the results show that the users are pretty much satisfied with that. We also had some questions related to in case of a user marks these questions as irrelevant content or unsatisfied. We also had follow-up questions to understand from them that why do they think that way, and that was essentially textual feedback, and Mail and Richard, they took notes of that. And the good thing is that 80% of the users of the participants who have filled this survey, they were okay with us contacting them to get further information from them in terms of why are they not satisfied, if they ever filled that in, if they ever checked that unsatisfied box. So that was about the survey results. We also conducted the SEO analysis of the cert-manager documentation. We wanted to understand that if how well is the documentation page doing. For this purpose, we used 4 different tools, and from the results of those tools, almost all those 4 tools pointed to 3 common areas that need to be improved. The first one is that our pages do not have meta descriptions, something that is being used by the search engine, and something that also helps in getting the clicks, because it's that little it's those 2 lines of text that you see under the link in the search results. Secondly, we also need to make it a habit to include keywords within our titles so that the search engine understands what that specific page is about. Thirdly, we need to optimize the content that we want to display to the user when they search using the relevant keywords. Because of these 3 issues, and there might be some other as well. At this point in time, the domain authority of cert-manager's website is 42. So anything between 40 to 50 is considered average, and anything between 50 to 60 is considered good, and above 60 is considered excellent. These are the different websites which that show up results when the users use similar keywords to get the answers related to cert-manager. They have a good domain authority, but a good thing is that we have a better visibility. We appear in the search results more than them. However, our assumption is that once we work on our weak areas, which are listed over to the right, we will be able to increase this number, and that's what we're going to do. As a part of the whole effort, some changes were made down the line. We reorganized the document, and when I say that, what I mean is that we restructured the usage section because it was the most poorly rated out as compared to the other sections, and we merged the pages from the usage section to where it made more sense.
We are, just to be clear, we're in the process of doing this, aren't we, Mihak?
Yes. Oh, right. That's right. We have done it only in the pull request, but that pull request has not been merged with production yet. So in that pull request, we have also added new sections called features, and we have restructured the reference section to include CLI reference, API reference, and a couple of other pages as well. During this tenure, a couple of new guides were also included in the document, including the Getting Started with GKE and the webhook debugging guide. Again, Getting Started has been merged. It's a part of production, but webhook debugging guide is still needs to be merged. All these efforts are being made on a branch with the pull request 1048. And lastly, our next steps include further optimizing the documentation structure as much as we can do, and optimizing the SEO by inserting keywords in titles and adding meta descriptions. And if we have the bandwidth, we can definitely look into adding more getting started pages for the other popular cloud platforms. That is it from my side. If there are any questions, please go ahead.
Thanks, Mihak. Any questions or comments?
It looks really cool. Thank you for sharing that. I don't really have any questions, but it was super neat.
Ash, you probably got some thoughts on this, on the front matter that we add to the pages. I know you took some effort to translate that when we migrated to the new site. When you did that, did you think there was anything else that we could do to make the descriptions and titles more meaningful?
Definitely. Like the stuff that I did was almost entirely by hand and very, very laborious, like time-consuming work, which I couldn't put the care into it that it really needed just on my own. So yeah, like most of those can be massively improved, like and customized and all that. Yeah, it's a open goal for sure.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Mihak. Thanks for the great presentation, and you'll join us again at some future development meeting to give us either another update or a presentation to wrap the Seasoned Docs project up. Thanks again for all your efforts.
You're welcome.
So, what else have we on the agenda? I think we only have 2 items, and the only other item is Cody, who wants to discuss issue 4956. So, shall I hand over to you?
Sure. Yeah, this was just something that we haven't had a chance to dig into at VMware super closely yet, and I just kind of wanted to ask some of your opinions, because what happened was we were originally running a lot of our infrastructure on cert-manager v1.5.3, and we recently upgraded to v1.8, and we'd never seen this duplicate certificate issue before. And we noticed that it was actually an issue that already been filed. However, we are not getting it as a result of renewing a certificate that's being about to be expired. It's actually when we're requesting the certificate. And so I guess my question is this something that's been noted and been looked at already? Is this been occurring through, have other people been having this issue as well? Or is this something that we're kind of stumbling on for the first time, and it could be something that we're doing in our infrastructure at this point? So I don't know if anybody here has had experience with this particular error in the past, but I just wanted to bring it up with the community and see if any folks have had this problem yet.
I have not experienced this, but the person who's responded from the JetStack team is Erba, who unfortunately isn't here today.
Yeah, I thought she was going to be here, so
it's a shame.
but,
yeah,
mm-hmm.
we shall let her know that you joined the call today, and that you're particularly interested in that issue. I think we will all read the issue now and catch up.
Yeah, you know, it's sort of interesting because it's not something that I've only seen the issue ever happen one time. So there's some race condition that's happening that's causing this thing to rear its head occasionally. So it's a little bit difficult to reproduce from my experience. So on my side, what I plan on doing is at least building some kind of experiments to hopefully trigger this thing to occur frequently. But up until that point, I don't really know how to get this thing to trigger. So, because the only option once it does happen is to actually delete one of the requests and then restart the process over again manually, which from our point of view is not going to work. We're gonna have to have some kind of workaround built into our system, or we're going to have to fix this issue too. So we could also tackle this issue on GitHub ourselves and take a look at it if it's something other folks are experiencing.
Have you commented on the issue, Cody?
Not yet. No, I have not commented on this yet. So that's the we just found this occur. So we upgraded to 1.8 last week, and then we had one of the first builds that we did had this issue, and so I've been running multiple builds testing it, and I haven't seen it again. So I've been hesitant to write anything down yet until I can really weed out the issue from our perspective. And if that's if it ends up being in our court, then that's the way it is. But I just wanted to see if other folks were experiencing this. So
could it have been? This is just the top of my head. Is there any chance when you upgraded that you had like 2 controllers running, both resolving the same certificate requests?
So that is a possibility, because we do have we have some infrastructure that's running on pre V1 alpha issuers. So we had to upgrade to V1, obviously. And so one of the workarounds we had is to actually deploy for the ones that are like 0 point whatever, we actually deployed 154 because it was able to do the conversion. So that could actually be an issue that I'm going to look into. But from my perspective, I haven't seen that controller running at the same exact time yet. So that's why it's been a little bit suspect.
There shouldn't, like, there's a locking mechanism which
Mhm.
should prevent two controllers running at the same time, but the mechanism changed over a sequence of releases to use from using config map to using some new type of resource.
Mm.
And so if you were using a very old version of cert-manager and a very new version, it could be, would it be possible that they would not be not be referencing the same lock, and you could have two versions running simultaneously.
Yeah, we'll look
That's
into that.
just a guess. Look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Generally, I think we say that there should only ever be one instance of cert-manager running on a particular cluster.
Yeah, that's our plan most of the time. So
Yeah. Any other thoughts? Tim, Ash, Josh, have you got any further comments?
Nope. That what you said was quite compelling, and I think makes sense in my head. Certainly, this error
Cool. Yeah, sounds good.
isn't
Yeah.
the user's fault, or it shouldn't be.
And then we have the
Unless,
more-
yeah, unless it's
Some
like
background conversations coming through on your mic. I didn't mean to be talking, but
no, yeah, just I don't know. I'll be quick. Yes, it's not really it shouldn't be a user problem that causes this error. So it's nothing that the user's doing wrong, except if they're running more than one cert-manager. I've not personally seen this ever. So it's interesting.
okay. Thanks, Josh. Cody, yeah, keep digging, and if you think if that might be the cause, then maybe you could recreate it. Given
yeah,
that
absolutely.
situation.
And I can
come
post.
join us in our stand-ups every morning at 10:30. I don't know every morning, but if you want to discuss it further face to face, you're welcome to join us in our stand-ups.
Yeah, I'm over here on the West Coast in California, so we'll see. I don't know if that's
on Slack. And,
Yeah, maybe not then.
yeah.
Okay, so that I'll call that item closed. And is there any other things anyone like to discuss? Speak up now. But if not, then we can finish the meeting early and get half an hour back.
One more remark on the previous item. Currently, as I understand it, the cert-manager controller comes into the state where it says, okay, there are multiple matching certificate requests, and then it cannot continue from that point on, right? The thing that we could do is also handle that case and just remove one of them or both of them, right?
Yeah, that would be a good workaround at the very least, because we end up in a deadlock situation where no certificates end up being issued, so the whole system is just stuck.
I mean, we expect this error not to occur, but now that we see that it occurs, maybe for the sanity of our users, it would be good to also handle this edge case. However, I think it's still very important that we try to find what the root cause is, right? Try to resolve that. But yeah, like Cody said, if in production this causes some kind of major disaster, and we could have easily prevented it by just removing the certificates request? Maybe that's the thing we should do.
Yeah, right now we're thinking about just writing our own patch to like some other script outside of cert-manager just to remove it if we end up getting in this state. But ideally, we would rather contribute to the code upstream to fix it. So kind of just depends on, you know, what direction you all want to take it.
Yeah. I mean, does everyone agree that that should be a thing we should do? Handle that part and remove them? Or remove one of them?
I'm not sure.
I need to think about it. There's considerations to be made about which one you choose to delete, if you delete them at all. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's I don't know, there's all sorts
I
of
had like the call with
problems with
Steve
rate
Johnson
limiting and
like the whole secrets thing.
yeah, I guess you've
We
already
need to have some
destroyed.
technical, like I give him a bunch of docs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
where he's going to fall through.
I'd also like to know whether the requests are using the same private key. That would be interesting. I guess
Okay.
they must be, right?
I don't know off the top of my head, but I can take a look.
Do we
yeah.
now also add metadata to the certificate request, Josh, like the service account of the cert manager that created the certificate request?
Yep.
Design has been
Yep,
approved by
that
the
would be
partner.
If it was two cert managers running simultaneously, they would have separate service accounts?
Not necessarily.
I suppose not.
Not if you've done something very strange, which would be possible. But yeah, no,
There's
that's
something to check out, Cody, to see.
Mhm.
There's I can't remember the name of the field, but we now stamp into the certificate request the identity of the service account responsible for it.
Could we just remove both of the requests and wait for a new one to get created?
no. Well, deleting requests are not a great thing to do because a request could represent like real money. Like getting a certificate signed could cost money, or it could cause rate limiting, or
Yeah,
those other
luckily for
issues.
us, it's all self-signed internal stuff, so it would be free. But yeah, in that case, we would definitely not want to spend a whole bunch of money.
Yeah.
Any further thoughts, Tim, or shall we end the meeting?
Yeah, I think this is something we will have to further investigate, I guess. Further, maybe add a flag or something like that to enable this self-healing behavior or self-fixing behavior. Yeah.
Or the other option is we don't delete either. Just pick one.
Yeah, and maybe there's no good way to get around it without user intervention. You know, maybe you need to have somebody in the loop. I just don't know how frequently this is going to happen. Right now, it's only happened one time out of maybe 20, but who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for Entel Service Mesh with the SHP team that runs Entel Service Mesh on
Yeah,
native
like
layer.
yeah,
There are
obvious, but like
conversations
this
ongoing
case should never
on
happen in the first
forum
place.
and stuff like that, for them.
Hence the
But that's
complain in
something for
GitHub
the data
if you see
aside.
this error message.
So it might be a question
Yeah.
for
Yeah, but as Richard explains, if you upgrade from 1.5 to 1.8 or 1.9 maybe, it could be expected because the leader election uses well, different kind of resource.
Mhm.
Normally, I think in the documentation it says that you should upgrade version per version, go from 1.5 to 1.6 to 1.7,
Exactly.
1.8. I don't think a lot of people actually do that, I'm sure, because that might take quite a while to do that.
Yes, when you're doing versions
So not a managed one.
like a couple, normally recommend just uninstall and reinstall.
Okay.
It's the easiest way of doing things.
Yeah, we're following the upgrade paths as best as we can for the most part. So
By the way, Cody, if I understood correctly, you were running the old version of cert-manager because you have some V1 alpha
yeah, so
certificates.
for
What I was
customers
going
that
to
are
say is that we have a conversion tool. There's a CMCTL convert tool which might be useful to you. Go ahead.
definitely, so you're saying that tool converts your YAML files from an old version to the new version?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that is actually really good to know because I think for the last update, we went through manually and just changed the YAML files. So that would be a good tool to have at our disposal.
Yes, CMCTL convert, and pretty sure it works. But ping us if there's any problems with that. Okay. Let's finish this discussion. We can continue it on the GitHub issue and in Slack. And thanks again, everyone, for joining. And see you all online. I shall stop the recording.
Great. Thanks, everyone, for your help.
Thanks, Cody.